Yeah. So my take is that yes, it is now the on treatment.
Are we looking at when you come to the facility or government facilities?
Yeah. And the treatment is
I throw it to Dr. Celestine, because you realize what these facilities you're looking at meters away. Records with local.
For the health sector, the accessibility framework, and we're asking them to take into account. So those are things which are already happening behind, which is something that was of about 45% among the general. How the narrative of HIV was as a disease of difficult, and what we rewrite that script stigma. So we really need to. We've got self-stigma. He said we cannot strengthen. Amazing, and they happening in the communities. How mothers are mentoring the health facilities. So we need to all come, but stigma
ourselves so many years down the line as a person who has HIV, because we still have that.
We can't really pinpoint one answer to that. The reason being, number 3, education. People need to be educated. During birth. They were infected after they were born because they did not adhere to the given. A very big issue. The health tested. People are never given ARVs before counseling. The client will take the drugs at home, but because she has not told the partner, or she has not told the people there, and she will let her there. So HIV prevention and how people can access medicine and how people can reach health care centers. Care centers, most of these health care centers, especially like us in Nairobi, when you go there, you access treatment. That's very. And just for a layman's language, for somebody outside there who is listening, stigma is refusing to give me services simply a place of stigma. You assume that everybody in the room knows your HIV status, and that alone affects you. Psychosocial support groups in the community. We encourage these people. We talk to them, we train them, we teach them treatment. But you find some, unfortunately, don't adhere and they succumb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Juma, is it possible that stigma when it comes to HIV break the age of where you discovered that you're infected?
I think it is many issues. One is the way we were introduced to HIV, dreaded disease found in Kakamega, dreaded disease found, and AIDS is defined as the total sum of all diseases, the known and the unknown, and when they combine in the body, I think that warranted that stigma, and people were not very much informed, and people were not educated. As we talk in Kenya, stigma right now is serious in 3 areas: workplace, health centers, and learning institutions. And workplace, because even if you are not ill and you've disclosed to your work colleagues that you have HIV, even if you are stuck in traffic, they think that today there's a problem because you have HIV.
Yeah.
Even if you cough, and people cough, human beings cough, whether those who are negative or positive, they think that is cough is probably something else.
Yeah.
And we also have for children in learning institutions. Children, when they have HIV, particularly those tested late, they develop skin rashes, which are not contagious. But it is we parents who go to school and want to check which child is having a skin problem, which one is having a running nose, so that they stay home. And as we are talking right now, in as much as NAC is trying to fight stigma among young people, we have so many young people who are out of school because of that stigma. And the stigma in health institutions, I think the assumption we had was that if you are a health person, you are a nurse, you are a doctor, then you understand HIV. We didn't know that if you are a ear specialist, you only know the ear. If you are a nose specialist, you only know that. And they don't understand. And that is why even doctors or nurses, when themselves, it is their turn, who are infected, they die very fast. They don't even adhere to that treatment, simply because they've closed. And there is one thing Kenyans and Americans share. People specialize in their area, and that is the only thing they know. So somebody who was knowing about malaria, they would be a doctor, but they don't know anything about HIV. And that is what is bringing that stigma. But I also want to go back to what we were talking about. How are we coping with stigma? How did we bring people? When Asunta came here, when we come here, when James Kamau, Dorothy came, where did they come from? They came from support groups of people living with HIV who were educated, and now they became champions. Now these support groups, even in Nairobi, they are collapsing because of lack of funding. That is the other area of complacency. Where are the HIV champions? I've mentioned Asunta, I've mentioned Dorothy, I've mentioned Kamau. The generation behind them, who is there? There is nobody, because these young people don't have space to talk. Because from the year 2004, when we introduced ARVs, we have taken HIV to be a clinical or a medical issue. And we are not dealing with the community issues. And the community issue is where stigma is resident. Because what people talk, the attitudes people have, we still have to go out there, like you saw the Twitter said. National campaigns led by people in the HIV/AIDS must still continue.
The community is even discouraging people from testing for HIV and AIDS.
Because they don't want you to know. You'll embarrass them. If you are my sister and you are sick, we better deal with it casually, and you die and we treat you and we say it was something else. So I think it is that we need to invest in. We have to identify where support groups are, allocate funding, and with that funding, go out and educate people, so that even these adolescents that are coming up, they need their peers to tell them, yes, we are now 20-something, we were born living with HIV, but we have to live. Because if we are on treatment, we live up to the time God willed for us. But if we stop because of stigma, then we are going to die. One last thing, stigma is a big problem because of discrimination. And the discrimination we are talking about is, I will be denied some employment because I have HIV. I will be denied school entry because my child has. And I will be denied treatment or medical cover. Insurance still do that in Kenya. And that is why now we laugh back to stigma, that all employees are under this cover, but this is exclusion. The National Hospital Insurance Fund, recently they reviewed, but HIV is still an exclusion. You cannot access ARVs using a NHIF card. And when you have that, and for people who don't want to talk about their status, then it's a problem.
21st century, and we're still talking about stigma. It's really sad. Right about now, it's time to take the conversation to the streets, and Wycliffe Gori is out there. Let's see what Kenyans have to say as regards HIV and AIDS. Gori.
We are coming to you from the Nairobi CBD, and the emerging trends of HIV and AIDS are a real concern to Kenyans. And that is why I'm asking the question here, are Kenyans getting back into the irresponsible sexual behaviors because we have the life-saving drugs?
Yeah, it is true, because pia kuna magonjwa zingine serious than AIDS. Kuna cancer, kuna Ebola. I think hata even me supposed nishikwe na ugonjwa sahi, heri ikuwe AIDS kuliko cancer. Sisemi nishikwe. So kuna watu wenye wanaona AIDS is just, ndio ni kama bahati mbaya, lakini si serious kama venye ilikuwa kitambo. In my opinion, tumerelax kidogo. Watu kampo, they are engaging in irresponsible sexual behavior.
Nasema naogopa AIDS kwa sababu inaua. Na pia vile vile at first niliogopa kupimwa. na nilichukua muda mrefu sana kabla nipimwe, sababu nilihofia nikipatikana na AIDS hiyo nitakufa.
Then before, you remember, when there were no drugs, people used to be very careful, especially when it came, when Kenyans were told about there is HIV/AIDS and everybody should be careful about what is happening. Is an incurable disease. There is no there's no cure. Most people then begin to think and they say, no, I don't want to die. But nowadays when they say now medicine has been found. Many people, they know as far as you practice this sex without even using anything.
During the 90s, there was a lot of stigma behind it. What I can say is the stigma has died down. Guys are more aware of the disease, but now the funny thing is people are more afraid of getting pregnant rather than catching the disease.
Well, from the views of Kenyans, you can tell that there's some sort of fear in them, and then that they recognize that HIV and AIDS is real. However, there needs to be some change in strategy on tackling this issue.
Welcome back. You're watching Beyond the Headlines. Let's continue with this conversation, and thank you very much, Wycliffe Gori, for that heads up again on what Kenyans are saying. Interestingly, most of them have not tested for HIV and AIDS. They don't know their status. And number two, what measures are they taking to prevent themselves from, infections? They're using none. Absolutely. So I want you to quickly react to that, and we'll start with Flory here. I think the problem lies out there.
It is.
Yeah.
It's some of these people assume they don't need to be tested.
Yeah.
Hence they are misbehaving and engaging in risky behaviors. And they need to be told that testing is free. In Kenya, in health centers, testing is free. Going there, you just go there, you receive counseling first, and then you are tested. After testing, you will get help. Whether you are negative or positive, you will be able to get help from the health center where you have gone. Yeah, and it is free. Everybody needs to know his HIV status and her HIV status. Everybody needs to. Because now, like our colleagues who are talking outside there, they don't know their status. So what at the end, these are people who will engage in risky behaviors, and the reason why they are engaging in risky behaviors is they assume HIV belongs to him and not to me, or HIV belongs to her and not to me. Yeah, they think they are safe. They are not safe. You are only safe when you've known your status, you are told what to do, and you are educated on what to do. They are not safe at all.
Let's perhaps do the conversation on advocacy a little bit of it here, and let's ask, and perhaps you can tell them. Number one, how often are you supposed to test for HIV and AIDS?
Okay, so we advocate, it depends on your risk category, so to speak. So if I walk into a testing facility and I'm tested, what the counselor does now is take me through the sessions, pre and post testing counseling, and then also assess now my risk. So we usually say at least within a year if you are low risk. Then if you are at higher risk, you've got multiple sexual partners, you're not using protection, or for example, even if you're a female sex worker, key population, then your testing will be much shorter than that. But let me just speak to the issue of testing. Again, like I said, personal responsibility. No matter how many billboards you put out there, you cannot actually force somebody to go in. And a lot of the problems is nowadays the face of HIV has changed. Like Nelson was saying, before you would see the poster of the very wasted thin patients looking very sickly. Nowadays you hardly see those patients even at the health facilities. They're actually healthy, very normal looking people. So the assumption is that this one cannot have HIV looking the way they look, you understand. And before also HIV was seen as a disease of the, unfortunately, the lower social class, you understand. So if I'm with somebody from the middle class and upper class, there is no way they have HIV because it is not their disease. HIV does not choose who to infect. It does not. It doesn't care which tribe you come from, where you work, where you live. Everybody is at risk. So really those perceptions, and that's how also the message was brought to us, because we did not know better. Those really need to change, and people need to go and get tested.
We go to Jen to bring us up to speed with what Kenyans are saying on Twitter, and perhaps you can also now take up the conversation, because the First Lady talked about the worrying number of rising infections among adolescents or the youth, and we're going to talk about because there are a lot of raunchy behaviors amongst the youth. But then Jen, take it away.
Yes, Kyori, remember we're talking about HIV and AIDS, and we asked you, are we becoming complacent with HIV and AIDS? Are we just accepting HIV and AIDS as part of us? Keep talking to us. And just to sample some of your feedback, we have Tom Nafula on SMS. He says, how do we target the youth? They fear pregnancy more than HIV and AIDS. I think that's a really sad reality, where the youth fear pregnancy more than HIV. We also have Leonard Kimani on SMS. He says, Kenyans no longer fear HIV. It's become a condition because they know that there are ARVs available. All right, we'll move on to...
Yes, I know, baby, I'll be there.
Calvin.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday.
Go finish your work before Kenya comes. Sasa kuona TV. Tuko na kazi na lazima tumalize.
Kwa hivyo inamaanisha nikienda na napata kazi nzuri.
My sister, if you believe and you have faith and you pray, God will grant you the job.
But Pastor, sio nadhani ndo kazi yako. %21% of those infections are in young girls 15 to 24. Those are the statistics. If you look at our latest estimates, which will be released soon, in terms of comprehensive knowledge around HIV and AIDS, only 51% of our young people actually know what HIV and AIDS is, issues around transmission, how do I protect myself from getting HIV and AIDS. The biggest barrier and the biggest contributor of HIV infections is actually lack of knowledge, if you ask me.
Lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge.
On the part of the person?
Of the adolescents and the young people.
Okay.
We were in a forum the other day, let me give you an example. And we were actually asked, when did you first hear about sex as a young person?
Yeah.
And all those who answered, nobody said I heard about sex from my parents. Everybody mentioned the teacher, a magazine, a book, my friends, my colleagues. So I'd like to just say that parents really need to step up and stop abdicating their duties.
Yeah.
Because the first point of information for a young person, for a child, is in the home.
Yeah.
It is not the work of the teacher or society to teach your children about sex and sexuality. So we need to start having that conversation with them.
Yeah.
What we are doing as National Needs Control Council, because of this problem, is really trying to take now the information to them in schools.
Yeah.
So we're really working with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. We are in the process of actually reviewing the HIV content in the curriculum to make it age appropriate and to update it, so that at least they're getting information about HIV and AIDS from somewhere. For the youth who are out of school, we also have got various engagements coming up as the NAC. We're partnering with the FKEF and the county governments to have like a football tournament where we're really going to talk about HIV and give HIV messaging. We're also out in the sports activities. This year we have a category in the Doma festivals on HIV and AIDS. So we're trying to get the information out there as much as possible. But I really need to urge parents to really step up and parent your children. What I keep on telling them is that the world has an agenda for your children.
You think parents have failed?
Well, let me not say failed, because sometimes really it is beyond your choice, because we all, should I say, in the rat race, we all want to have 2 or 3 jobs, and we want to go back to school and do our masters, and we're all trying to provide for these children. So you tend that a lot of the parenting is done by the nannies, by the community out in the estate. So in as much as you want to try and have time, sometimes it is impossible. But I think making that extra step really has got long-term effects.
Thank you.
So we really need to give them appropriate information.
Each and every one of you has a minute, so we're winding up. But let me come to you, Flory, because even when we hear about Project X, we only worried about the drinks they're going to take, but we're never worried about the risk of contracting HIV or even STIs.
That is contributed to the fact that they think if you have HIV, you should look a certain way. That's why they no longer fear. Like my colleague said, they think if you have HIV, maybe you'll have 3 legs or 4 eyes, something like that, just to notify them that this girl I wish to be my friend is HIV negative. They don't know that you can be infected and still look healthy. Yeah, that's the reason why they are engaging in risk behaviors. Yeah.
Okay. To you, Juma, perhaps you could propose areas of partnership, particularly when it comes to cutting this infections. 100,000 is quite too much, and perhaps when you talk about 88,000 again being at the youth, it becomes even more worrying. Now the question is, what are the areas of partnership that can actually be utilized at this point to cut down on this number and perhaps even bring it to zero?
I think we still need to go on with education, particularly for young people. And this is a society where there is moral decadence. Okay, when we mention condom, people say it's immoral, but I think the immorality exists even without condoms. These young people are starting sex at a very tender age, 12, 13. We in NEFAC have come up with another network called Sauti Skika Network. And we realize that these young people, age 10 to 24, who have HIV, very few were born with HIV. And it is few because most of their peers died. But the bulk are people who started sex early, and unfortunately some of this infection even come from relatives. So there is increase in incest. Yes, Dr. Mugambi talks about you need to send young people to school. But what if the school is the risk factor? The girl will be infected by the teacher. So I think we need to look at the laws and policies to protect young people, and we need to allow these young people to have protection devices like condoms. Because go to my village, 16 years, 17 years, those are people's wives, but we still categorize them as children. The Children's Act, those are children, but those are people's wives, and they are pregnant and they go to facilities.
And they're carrying babies too.
And we need to allow them to access condoms. We need to allow universities to do condom programming without saying Watoto University, without using that as a child. So I think the partnership is, the Ministry of Education is key, learning institutions is key, the medical fraternity need to come up out of the facility. And because they are also very few and we know the challenges they are facing, they need to partner with the communities and civil society and NGOs so that we intensify the education that will help us with prevention. And more importantly, we know that for those who are infected, you know, if you are negative today, you will only be infected by somebody who is positive. The best thing is to make sure that we also focus on that person who is positive. If they are a mother, let us put them on treatment. Because once they are on treatment, their children will be HIV free. If they are a partner, let's give them condoms, but also make sure that they are on treatment so that the viral load is reduced, that the chances of you meeting that virus to your partner is reduced. I think that's how we are going to manage. And then the other partner is the media. So you have to continue helping us, airing this out and educating Kenyans.
Just before you move to Joshua, about the media, I think you have a wonderful platform to do a lot of good and to make a long-lasting impact on our young people. Just be wary of what messages you send out there, the content of what you send out there, because everything actually has got a ripple effect. So we're sitting here castigating government and the networks of people living with HIV, but we don't take individual responsibility. There's always a cause and effect relationship. So everything to every action is an equal and opposite reaction. So we need to be careful.
Joshua, finally, because I want to hear from the position of NACC in terms of the condom conversation. That is what you're going to wind up with.
Wow. I think the issue of condom has been discussed. We're saying that we go as per the evidence that we have. We're saying that for the young people, abstain. What of them that are not abstaining? We need to protect. One sure way that science has shown us is that condom. So to me, it cuts across. Well, if somebody is abstaining, yes, it's true. The discussion around condom does not come in. But what of them that are sexually active? How do we protect them? How do we protect them from HIV and from the other diseases?
Are we going to see more campaigns about condom use from you?
Yes. We will be able to repackage messages that are age-specific, and I think that's what was mentioned, age-specific messages. That which is for the lower primary school.
Instead of selling them.
We say there is always room for improvement, and we are doing this. But who are HIV positive can give I ask Kenyans. The third one is let's fight discrimination for its form. For us to go to zero.
Thank you very much. So